Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Coach Gamer here. We're back with Anno 2205, guys. We're looking at where we stopped in the last episodes. We were kind of expanding this section here. And to be honest, I have been thinking about this, and I think what I want to do is to just keep expanding. I will add a lot of different things, especially in this area here. However, because honestly, I actually thought about this game, and I came to a conclusion that if I was to purchase this game, you know, back in when it was released 10 years ago almost, I probably would have loved it. But now, having and comparing it to, you know, Anno 1800, yeah, it's it's too repetitive. It's not engaging for me. Yeah, there's just a lot of things. It looks amazing, don't get me wrong, but you know, for a 9-year-old game, but yeah, there's just so many things here that are just so yeah, definitely not my favorite, let's put it that way. Anyway, I have decided that what we'll do is we'll do a quick episode, basically. Well, a quick episode for you, it'll be the usual length. For me, it'll be very long, because I am going to you know, make it a speed build. Okay, so this area here, I think I'm gonna leave it for the palace or whatever, the corporation HQ, for some of it, and the rest it'll be all buildings. And then I'm gonna add more buildings kind of around wherever we can, I suppose, which we've kind of reached limit. Yeah, and there's rice and whatever, so there are not many spaces, I just figured. Okay, so we probably may want to go over to this side and do it that way. Yeah, okay, so let's do it that way, and then I'll talk to you guys later. And welcome to the speed build. It's actually going to be the longest one I've ever done, I think, or it's definitely up there. Anyway, so the goal here is to reach 1 million, quite honestly, and I did think that this may not be possible. However, as you may see by the title of this episode, I did manage. It took me forever. One of the reasons, I suppose, is that you know, the rare materials are needed for a lot of the different things, so that kind of stops you from expanding too rapidly. Anyway, so what I want to do is to just fill this area. Now we're looking at the Greentide. The Greentide is really where we have space for the time being. And honestly, I think that, you know, for us to go ahead and have even more people, we would need another region soon. So I don't know if I want to do it or not, but I'll see. Anyway, for the moment, I think, honestly, guys, I don't really enjoy this game as much as I do enjoy other Annos. The reason being is that it's very kind of dumbed down in a way. Look, you don't really feel like you're doing much. I don't, anyway. You know, there's no ornaments. There's no kind of a city feel to it. It's a very nice game and whatever, but in you know, from the visual aspect, but yeah, it doesn't feel very Anno-y to me. The only Anno-y thing is, I suppose, what we're doing right now is the fact that, you know, there is grid in their houses, but everything else seems very, yeah, it's very different. Well, I suppose the reason I did this is that because you guys requested it. I did want to do it anyway at some point. I did want to play the game because I'm an Anno fan, and it was definitely on my list, but I wouldn't be coming back to it very soon. And if the mod is something that has been, you know, and reworked a lot of things, yeah, I'm not very fond of the vanilla game, if that's the case, if this is completely different. But anyway, let's focus on the central island here. What I wanted to do is that to leave the corporation HQ, which is, you know, the equivalent of palace, I suppose, and do a bit of like a park or something, so it does feel, you know, like part of the city, I suppose, in a city-ish way, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so a bit of a park, a bit of something to resemble Anno, and I think this part really the most felt like Anno for me. This part of the town, while I was doing it, so I was pretty happy with that in the end. So there are some things, but very little, and the fact that you can place a lot of them, because I think they're part of the mod, right? That you can place them anywhere, kind of feels very weird. But anyway, so I kind of have no idea what to do with this corporation HQ or the palace, whatever you want to call it. So I kind of left it the way it is. You won't see it being expanded any further in this episode anyhow. And what we're about to do is to fill everything south of the palace, right? As I'm doing it now on the video. And I did think that it'll take me much longer. I was kind of prepared. Some of the playthroughs, or how do I say this, speed builds, I suppose, in the Anno 1800 took me, you know, sometimes 4 hours. This one was only, which was quite surprising, only took me 2.5. So the speed of this build, as we're looking, or this episode, it's only twice, well, 240 something percent in terms of speed. Anyway, so what we're looking at here is me having a bit of a play with the parking. I actually quite like this. I think this is one of the only things that I like. The movement of items, you know, the usual comma and period, doesn't really work. So the only way to move it is to actually pick it up and then twist it with Shift and V. So that's not the best, I suppose, but it's better than nothing. Because the placement is very random, as always. It is in Anno, I suppose. Anyway, and I figured that I'm gonna do all of the big buildings here because of the synthetics. However, one thing I've managed to figure out all on my own, and by chance, to be quite honest, but I didn't realize that the synthetics on Earth don't... Maybe I looked at it before, but I didn't really properly realize that they don't generate money at all. So it's a bit of a strange one, I suppose, because they look good. They're generating a lot of workforce for us, but no money whatsoever. So I was kind of feeling a bit disappointed when it comes to that, because I think I've upgraded just too many, right? Because look at the bottom screen. We have 34, and I think it'll go to like 40,000 of employees, which is quite a lot. But at the same time, I don't think we'll need them in this region because we don't produce anything here. And it's not like the regions I use in a way of, you can share the workforce between the different regions. So I don't know what to do. So definitely too many synthetics, and investors really is where the money is. So just a few moments ago we got a notification about the I can't remember who was it. Oh yeah, it was actually here. You can see the fleet is, I've called the fleet over here. So yeah, we'll actually have quite a few of them in this episode. So this is just the usual, and I'm gonna fire them off. I think I've said this before, I don't really like this part. However, I actually like this part the most. It's just because we get a lot of drops, and with this laser thing we can just keep calling this off. Keep calling them is it John Rafferty or whatever that he is doing it, or something anyway. But we can keep getting those lasers being shoot from the sky, and there you go, right? So literally just in a few minutes we really completed the mission, more or less. So this is pretty cool. Now I think what I could do as well is to maybe separate them in two different ways, if that makes sense. So two smaller troops, so then we can do it quicker. But because they don't really attack when you You know, when you leave them idle, you really need to look out and make sure that they are being managed all the time. I'm just looking at this, right? So I'm just upgrading those synthetics. I think it works for that island particularly, but as I said, it doesn't really work for money. So I've decided that I won't be doing too many of those, although they really look good. And investors is as far as we should go. It's just because, like, the money isn't an issue, don't get me wrong. However, I kind of feel like, because everything is fluctuating, you know, with the market, and we may need to be buying more things, and you really need to be in positive balance quite a lot, I suppose. Anyway, so there you go. I'm adjusting all the things. I then decide to speed up the production of the bots, adding the aerogel. And I don't think that I've ever thought that I will be at this point. I guess, look, I'm no stranger to Anno, so I did think that, you know, it'll be possible at some point, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this game from the very beginning felt very, very difficult for some reason. So maybe if you're starting and you're kind of don't know what to do, it'll be a bit off-putting. But then again, if you like challenge, don't give up too easily either, right? Kind of keep going and do things, and but it does look very, very repetitive. Anyway, I think this is the first time in a very long time when we ran out of fruit, so I'm just adding more. And because of one of the research, I didn't realize that it actually gives you more fields, right? So you can have more. Now we are struggling for space, so it's gonna be a lot of moving things around, making silly kind of roads, moving things to the back of the mountain and things like that. So it's kind of not the best, I suppose, but look, it's better than nothing. And at the same time, we can build what we need it to. The only other thing I was going to say is a lot of these now are possible to be built on the moon, so I'm kind of considering it. But it's kind of tricky, I feel, because on the moon it then you need to transport things like the water and whatever, and then that adds more to the cost of it. The only thing is that a good trade-off is having the space, I suppose. And look, the rices and all of that actually takes so much space, so you would be able to fit a lot of houses there. So maybe something to think about, especially that we do have 3 moon regions. So yeah, that could be something that can be done. Anyway, the good old adjustment of routes. So I'll be doing all of that. I actually find now the catalyst and everything to be, it's kind of something that we can easily build. There's no issues. One thing I do have to say is I think I would like the bio enhancers, the kind of green gloves thingies. For them, the output seems very low, even with the biocatalysts. So it just seems that the entire moon would be literally just power and biocatalysts, and that's it. Well, the air or whatever, the oxygen. But everything else just seems to be kind of balanced, apart from the bioenhancers. Everything else I'm actually quite happy with. So even like the glasses, I always forget, the nano or whatever, they, the output of it is so high. The eyes as well, but the bioenhancers are the only thing. And maybe the Intelliware seems on the lower side, but it's not as bad as the bioenhancers. Anyway, the goal as well is to have more of the Martians But with Mars, it's gonna be a tough one because we need magnetite. Magnetite is kind of on the lower side. Anyway, so I'm just checking all of the different things. Now, I have a lot of those upgrades to the buildings. The only thing is that you can see me now deleting it because we have the better ones, I suppose. And that's something that I'll probably will add over time, because the ones that we have here are 10% and the ones that we actually have are 15%. So it's something that I do want to utilize. But as you can see, we are struggling for space, and especially in this area, I suppose. So I'm just fiddling things around, adding it here and there. Just so I have, I suppose, a bit more wiggling room with buildings and making sure that things fit. Oh yeah, there you go, you can see me adding it. Now, what I like about this here is that we can actually add things in one go in comparison to, you know, at the beginning you only built like half of the building, whatever, but now you can go ahead and add the entire whack, and it's all good. So what's restricting me here, I think, with the way I'm doing things is because I like to build a lot of things in one go, like what I'm doing in Anno 1800, that I have, you know, the entire production island, let's say. Whereas here you can't. You have to kind of go bit by bit because, you know, something is out and it's not easily obtained, and because the warehouse is only like 700 limit for like the biocatalysts, whatever, it's not an easy build, right? Whereas in Nano you can have 10,000 capacity of a warehouse or whatever, and then you can just practically building away. Like it's very hard to run out at late stage of the game. Same as we are now, right? We are level 88, just 200 plus thousands away from reaching 1 million. So that's a very late game for Anno 1800. Maybe not here, because look, I've seen people having online you know, like 20 million, whatever. So I don't even know. I think that must be every region or something. It almost seems very difficult. Well, not even doable, because I mean, where do they go? Where do they go? Because we have no space in 2 regions. The Greentide, there's like, it's a big map, but there's a lot of small islands, right? So you don't really fit too many of them there. And again, like in Anno 1800 you can just upgrade. If you want to upgrade everyone to investors, you can. Like, there's no limit of the upgrades. Whereas here you need to leave the different classes at certain level, because it just tells you, oh, not enough house of this and the other and whatever. So it's definitely much more restrictive that way. So the reason I'm talking about Anno 1800, I think I missed the game quite a lot, so it's something, yeah, it's very much due for me to do it again. And I think we'll do a series whereby we'll just go through, you know, just playing it, and then we'll stop at point where the new Anno Pax Romana will come out, and then we'll switch to that instead. I think that's the plan. Anyway, so I kind of like this area. It looks very cool with this little well, I'm calling it palace, but it's not. The corporation HQ in the middle looks really good. There you go, and more of these guys. I will move roads and things like that because it's kind of very restrictive in terms of what we can add and whatnot. So I'm just, as you can see, I'm fiddling around here with things. But I like those things actually a lot. And the fact that, I mean, we've got so many of them, and we're only, you know, we only built one mine for the helium-3. Is it helium-3 or helium-6? But you know what I mean. So whatever powers power cells, these guys. So yeah, it feels like almost non-exhaustive resource. And that's the only thing that we've built one off of. So that's, yeah, that's kind of strange. No, don't get me wrong, it's fully expanded, but even at that, it's for that amount of power. So I think the game was correct when they said that the, you know, that'll be unlimited supply of power. It definitely feels like it anyhow. Right, so we're jumping back and forth. Now I'm trying to sort out the biopolymer factory. The reason being is we, you know, for a big expansion, you need a lot of resources being done quite fast. So it's one of those things, I suppose, where I was saying, right? Because the limit is 700, and that's only few upgrades, and then that's it. That really limits you. You've got the money, you've got everything else, but just accumulation of goods. So there you go, that's expanded. I'll do similar thing in the Greentide region. However, I think I'll do it off the screen because I kind of figured it ain't gonna work. Or no, I figured here, I think at this point that that I've had enough, but probably won't. Now I can also, guys, tell you that I have progressed the development of the game further. So I have not been, and I haven't been recording it, and the reason behind it is, yeah, it's the same. Like, you've seen it once, you've seen it, you know, 15 times, I suppose. So what's the point of me, you know, just keep recording me building, adding more houses and repeating the same over and over? So basically, I think what I'm gonna do forward is, you know, I'll just do the building off the screen and, you know, just show you the outcome of it later, I suppose, which will be just more people, you know, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Anyway, so what we're doing here is fighting this, guys, and the reason being is that we need more magnetite. And I've decided just to go and actually eliminate the entire map. So all the little, you know, red moving dots here bottom right, where you see, you know, the enemy, I suppose. I'm gonna destroy every single building just to get them the most amount of, not just magnetized, but, you know, everything else, I suppose. So that's what I'm doing. I have noticed that we were getting quite a few drops, so I'm kind of using all these lasers and whatever all the time, just to make this as quick as possible. Otherwise, you know, it's you kind of going through, you know, the map and destroy them and whatever in much slower fashion without them, I suppose. Anyway, so the mission here is to destroy 3 of the eradicators that are kind of driving around the place. As you can see, look at the amount of drops. It's actually quite crazy. Sometimes you don't get many, sometimes you get a lot. And this is the expert level, so it's the highest level. So I would have thought that there'd be less drops, but there you go. I'm also accepting all of the side missions, just because they're easy, I suppose. One was to destroy ships, which we're already destroying, and then another one was to deliver the EM pulse, whatever. And because we're getting so many of them, might as well. And then there was a third one, I can't remember what it was. But it's something that will healing, maybe healing, something to do with, you know, calling John Rafferty or something, one of those anyway, or maybe dropping the bombs or something. I think, let's say, what would be fun addition to it would be, let's say, like a timed mission, right? Because otherwise you're just driving around it like it's, you know, kind of, I don't want to say purposeless, but, you know, just yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm doing much here, but you know, in collecting drops, that's literally what we're doing. So I think that having some sort of like a mission, either timed or, you know, like a final boss thing or whatever, because even the eradigators seem like, you know, they're just there, and I drop the laser and they're gone. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just not very well thought out, it seems. So the only thing is this, right? These guys. But look what I'm doing. I'm not even fighting. I'm just dropping these. So that seems like almost like a cheat. Like, it's very cool, don't get me wrong, because I love it because of the fact that, you know, you just drop it and the whole thing is gone. But yeah, I'm even dropping it on buildings, and because those things are kind of moving around and have an area of effect, might as well. But didn't I say, like, the amount of drops that we're getting here, it's quite crazy. Another game I actually wanted to because it's on my radar, and I do like it. I've played the first one, and I'm kind of a fan of the team, because they do produce good games. But the Planet Coaster 2 I was thinking of. However, you know, guys, I don't know. It's just I've read a lot of reviews, and a lot of the even YouTubers, they literally abandoned the game. The kind of the ones that produce a lot of content just based on those games, because they really do have an amazing skill and actually, you know, do are able to produce amazing parks and whatever, and zoos and things like that. So whether it's Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster, any of those, I would never be able to do that. You can see my city, let's say, when I was thinking actually of my city skylines, holy crap, so bad. You know, very simple, let's put it that way. But yeah, so I guess I'm complimenting them because they really do have an amazing skill. But even those guys have said that even though they're kind of diehard fans of Planet Coaster or Frontier, I suppose, they are abandoning the game until the game is fixed, because it seems that they have done a lot of issues, that the same issues that have been there with the first installment of the game are still there in the first. Like, literally no one talked to each other, no one really learned anything. And so I was kind of reading the comments. There's a lot of reviews on Steam which are kind of on negative side almost. You know, it says mixed, but it's leaning towards negative. So I decided just to leave it be, because it's quite expensive anyway, and I suppose just to be disappointed. And I don't know if you're like that as well, but sometimes if I'll buy a game and I would then, you know, start playing or whatever, and then you're like, it's not really what I kind of hoped for. You kind of leave it be. Well, I am anyway. Now, I do sometimes get the refund thing, but very rarely, because I do then think that, oh, it's actually something that I waited for and had high hopes for. And then you're like, well, maybe it'll get fixed. And then, you know, after a few months, whatever, it doesn't get fixed. Or maybe even if it does, you're like, well, it was actually so bad, I don't really care if I go back. And then what happens, you can't even get a refund because, you know, you're outside of the period and whatever, and you waited really for nothing, and kind of feels like money lost. I actually do have a few games like that. I actually even thought of making a playthrough for them, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but look, I don't want this to be like a completely negative review of things, I suppose. because there's a lot of negativity in our lives as it is, so might as well just keep it light, keep it fun. So that's what I'm trying to do. But there are sometimes, you know what I mean, there's sometimes things that you're like, oh really, like and then the game, you know, it's like 50 or whatever bucks, so that's quite a lot, I think. Anyway, so we're doing this quest because of another attack or whatever. This is my least favorite things to do because of how slow this rover, I suppose it's called, is. And because you have to go around from one side to the other, you cannot just... because there's no bridge where the crater is. So that's what it is. So it's kind of like a time waster rather than anything else. But it does add a bit of variety, I suppose, to the game. Anyway, and then this is the part 2. To waste more time, you need to collect little drones and drop them off at specific locations. And that's what it is. So we're kind of going to the next location now. But I don't know if you just guys saw it, but there was a little guy there that was waiting and with a quest, and he was offering magnetite. So I noticed that magnetite can also be obtained here, and I will do a couple of those quests. But at this point I was like, oh god, not yet another thing that I have to drive around with. So I kind of left it be. I wish there was a flying thing here rather than the rover, because it's... yeah, the choice of it is not my favorite. The hotel is absolutely amazing. The way it looks, I was actually zooming in at some point and I saw the level of detail. I love it. But yet again, it just feels like I would have loved if let's say there were like not missions, but like travels or trips to the moon or something like that. You know, that was possible. That would have been so cool. Moon Hotel, instead of just visualization. And like, it did take quite a few, like quite a bit for the different tasks to complete the construction of it, didn't it? So it wasn't, you know, easy. Like, there you go. I'm checking the power cells because I was amazed that we don't need any more, as I've said before. And this is the last drone, so the system will reboot whatever, and yeah, we're back to normal, so that's fine. So that's 3 of them now, I think. I don't know if there's another one, but I hope not. Anyway, we're back to Greentide. In Greentide, we are hoping to expand further. There's quite a lot of room on a lot of the islands. Some of them are quite big as well. Like this one, there's a lot of room here. And I can actually tell you that I have expanded on this island. I'll mention it and I'll show you in the next episode, or maybe episode after, but the Greentide is almost now entirely full. Okay, so then we can go ahead and upgrade. Yeah, this is well, it's coming to a time now when I'm realizing that we're not getting too much money, because look at the money, right? Not the money in the way of the balance or the piggy bank, whatever you want to call it, but the actual balance, so our income. So I've upgraded so many houses and then the income didn't really go up as high, and this was the time when I was like, something's not right here. But yeah, it was me then realizing that we're getting 5,000 synthetics, which are paying absolutely nothing, but yet we're delivering quite a lot of resources which are very expensive to be produced, right? Like the glasses, the neural optics, whatever they're called. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then the heliware, and then the maintenance as well, because it requires the synthetics or the synth cells, whatever. So whoever had said, I actually, I was going to mention it, whoever had said to first improve the, or research the entire foods or agriculture sector was actually so correct. I mean, they're all very good, don't get me wrong, but I think the food is really important because the benefit that we get from the 20% reduction of the food processing and the is a 25% reduction of actually consumption, something like that. Anyway, it costs 500 expertise. That's the bit that I remember for sure, but I think it is 25%. But yeah, it's actually quite insane, right? Because the like, I have not made, the only thing I've really made was the juice, but apart from that I really have not needed to build any whatsoever, any agricultural building at all in forever, it feels like. All I'm doing is these guys all the time. So this is what I was saying before, right? Like the entire moon just feels like we're doing this, but yeah, that's fine. I kind of feel what I like about this, I suppose, is that there's no area of, well, maybe the Mars is the only thing, but there's no area of influence of anything. So that's the only thing, I suppose, that I kind of enjoy about this game. And there's no radiuses of anything, so you can just place things wherever they are, even, you know, on different islands, and it still affects the entire region, which is, yeah, it's a bit maybe simplistic, but it does really kind of work here, I suppose. So I have been thinking about this, and I've said it before, all the different routes, and I think I have a lot of routes that are possibly not needed anymore. But the best thing to do, I feel, is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is, let's say, have I'll just use rare materials or rare elements, whatever they're called, you know, the goldy things that you get on the moon as an example. So you can get them on the Mars as well. And so instead of having, let's say, them being transferred from Mars to all the other regions like the Arctic and the Tundra or whatever, and then having them from Mars and the Tundra and Arctic, whatever, having all of them sent to one region. So what I'm doing now is rare elements from Mars to the moon, and then moon, because we already have and are sending the rare elements to the other regions, you know, just distribute them like that. So I think that seems to be the most optimal way, instead of having the same route, you know, practically 4 times over, or well, twice anyway, right? Because you need to send it from the moon and from the Mars. So that's what I've started doing, and I think that the older ones, they could be kind of all over, right? So I don't have that kind of a system in place, and I do need to change that if I want a bit more money, because that's another, I think we're okay, and it's not really detrimental, don't get me wrong, but I think that's really the way to do this. So if you're struggling with money, you know, that make sure that you do that, because that's definitely, you know, some of the routes really are costing a lot of money, like, so, and to, especially from the Mars, if you need to transfer things, it will cost you tons. So definitely make sure you don't kind of waste it. Anyway, so I'm just going the whole thing, especially that we've got the money and whatever. Now, as you can see, it's dropped the balance itself. The income dropped to below 300,000. But that's needed because of the power and whatever, so I don't really mind. Now, it never dropped any lower than that, so that's another thing. So even if we're getting attacked, or, you know, the way the goods are stopped or pillaged, or, you know, whatever it is, it never gets to that point, that it goes down to like even 100,000 or whatever. So it always stays kind of up there. So I suppose I'm pretty happy with that, and as well as that, we've got influence now, and we can use the stocks to boost the balance all the time. So that's what I'm doing, just to get the money faster. And I think I'm not very good at selling things. You know, you can keep selling things to the different guys. I kind of do it whenever I think of it, rather than or when we are stocked for cash completely, then I'll do it, I suppose. Anyways, I'm talking, and we are over 900,000, believe it or not, which is level 95. So, another few bits to go before we reached level 100. It's 100 actually. And 10 million on the books, so that'll be nice. So this island is going to be obviously the main island here, but I'm not going to expand here to the side of the stadium, but I will expand over here where we've got all the space. It's just because we do need to leave some room for like the stations and the infodromes and whatever they are. For the different services that are required, because when it comes to the urbanization, it's island specific, so it's not something that you can build on one and it transfers to the other. So that's the only thing. Everything else, like services, whatever, affects the entire region. I was thinking about the soundtrack for this game, so I actually quite like it, I suppose. But yeah, yet again, Anno 1800, so I'm really, I'm so looking forward to the new one. Like, they better be doing, I don't know, I think it'll be such a good game. I think it'll be the best Anno yet, but I don't want to jinx it, because look, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of things that I've waited for a long time and didn't materialize before, but so keep your hopes low. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I really do. Anyway, again, I'm just using the big houses because the they pay the most, I suppose. That's the main reason. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if that's the way it works, but I've noticed that if I have, let's say, 20 of the smaller ones and, I don't know, 5 of the bigger ones, even if I upgrade 5 of the smaller houses, I cannot upgrade the same amount of the big ones, to higher level, let's say. So if they're level, I can't remember their names, but if the smaller house is at level 2, I only can upgrade 1 or maybe 2 bigger houses. I think that's so it's not about the house, but it's about the amount of people in it, I think, anyway. That's another thing that I figured out, and I was quite happy with myself. But yeah, I was confused because I suppose, you don't really get, house is a house in Anno 1800, whereas here the size matter, I suppose, of it. If that makes any sense. But I think you know what I'm talking about, right? So if you have 5 houses, that's equivalent to, I don't know, maybe 2.5 or maybe just 2 of the bigger ones. When it comes to upgrading. So that's what kind of throws me off. So that's why I've decided to just do 1 instead of and then just fill the little gaps with the smaller ones, basically. That's what it is. And I figured it out because I've been upgrading the smaller ones, and I'm like, so I have upgraded to level 2 or 3, of the smaller houses, but yet I'm not getting the arrow for the bigger ones. So I was like, what's going on? Anyway, we're at 950,000 plus with 500,000 of income, so that's nice. But we'll keep going. It'll be well over 1 million actually once I'm finished with this. So I'm quite happy. And I'm thinking of the moon region, the next moon region. I don't really understand the little icons. I think they're so I don't understand the idea behind it. They're controlled and we can take them over. I suppose I don't really know much about the lore of the game or the storyline behind it. But the so I don't know the best region, the next region to take, which one it should be. I think it'll be just depending on what it looks like rather than the bonuses that it gives us, because I think that I don't want to struggle with, you know, if there's no space or whatever, or if it'll be kind of scattered around, because I think there's one with like 3 craters as far as I remember. So that's something that could be very difficult to settle, or much more. But I think they're all like that, right? So even looking at it now, there are 3 shaped ones like that. Anyway, we're being attacked here again. The good thing is everything, all the ships are kind of in one place, so we'll be able to defeat them quite easily and quick. One other thing I was gonna say is that, yeah, so a lot of it actually does affect the influence points, and I'm not quite sure why. Because, like, how is that attack connected? Maybe we're not. Yeah, maybe I'm supplying something to the station or something like that. It could be. And then it immediately drops in the expertise, and there you go. I think there'll be a bit less drops here. But I want to attack them all as we go. So I'll be dropping all these guys, as you can see. So yeah, in one go we can wipe out the entire thing. And we're practically completed the mission just as it is. Because of the... And I'm actually quite happy with this one, because I was so done after fighting 3 of them already. Yeah, but look at the amount of drops, right? Like one little group, and that was 5 missiles. So that's it. That was really fast. Not just for you because of the speed, but actually for me as well in the game because of the different things. So that was pretty cool. And lo and behold, the numbers are not really showing, so I'm quite confused how many more I need to add, but I think it doesn't matter, just keep adding at this point. You know, that's really where my mindset was at. So therefore we're coming to this island, and as I said, I'm just adding the big ones and then filling the little gaps with the smaller ones if I can. It won't be shown in this episode, but I did say that this entire island is now filled. And I think I also added another rocket launcher. Yeah, so that's nice. I still haven't... Yeah, there's something else now in here. Oh, so this was a new thing. So it was saying basically that I need to sell one of the electricity or power shares. So the Mars then, whatever she's doing here, the Mars calamity will stop. And I mistakenly sold the wrong one. And I had to sell this. Now, even if you sell it, they don't get it back. So I'm the only one that's, you know, I thought immediately that the non-auction thing falls off and she'll be able to participate, just, you know, for a bit of action, whatever. But she didn't. So, you know, I was the only one bidding. and then you can bid any amount, as little as you want. So I didn't realize that was the case. So I kind of felt again that this was a bit weird. I think when something like that does come up, then they should be part of the auction, because, you know, I don't control their company. I suppose that 90% you do in real life, but, you know, the game should have had a mechanism whereby you're not 100%, your control has been given away to some degree at least, and then they can start participating. Now obviously we'll be able to outbid them, so I suppose it makes no sense, but what if, let's say, there was something that, you know, a lot of those shares had to be sold or something. Yeah, something like that anyway. But yeah, it all's kind of, yeah, a lot of it seems like just not really well thought out of. Or maybe there's a limitation that I'm just not aware, you know, that may be. But there you go, we're just adding more houses. I'm trying to find something that fits there. There's a little park. And I just realized, because the buildings like the mines and the coastal buildings, they disappear when you're actually building houses. I often find myself, you know, trying to play something and then it tells me you can't, and you're getting quite annoyed and you're like, what's going on? And then you realize that it's actually one of those. Quick sip of drink while we do this. I kind of feel like I need something stronger for this. So again, just reviewing all the routes, making sure that everything is completed. I think I'm not gonna bother with those injectors, whatever they're called. It's just because they're so cheap to purchase. Might as well just leave it the way it is. But as you may have noticed or may not have noticed, we are getting ever closer to the 1 million. We'll just need the rare elements, which we've just built, and everything else seems good as well. And we're at 9.9 million on the books and level 98. So it kind of follows, you know, the amount of people equals the levels and whatever, but we're missing water. We're missing water, and I keep forgetting that actually we can buy the things, the construction materials from those guys. So anytime I'll want to build something, like, oh, I can actually buy this. But one thing I have to say is I don't understand somehow. So on the moon, you know, you generally can sell things, but sometimes you can't. Like, there's no option to sell anything. So I don't know if that's a bug or just, again, you know, for variety of for something, or I don't know. So this is how I learned that the urbanization does not transfer. I've built yeah, whatever, one of those anyway, and then I've realized that, yeah, this did not affect this island. So I suppose it's not a service, so it does make sense. So I decided just to grab it back from here and add it somewhere here. But I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying. But yeah, now this is where I figured it out, that it needs to be on that island. And I found a place, but this needs to be moved just a slide bit to the left or whatever. Another thing I was saying to myself that yeah, the movement cost, somehow sometimes it feels so disproportionate, especially at the very beginning. You really need to be careful where you're placing things, because movement of it, obviously now it doesn't make any difference. We've got so much money, but yeah, early on it really makes a lot of difference. Right, so I'm adjusting things. As you see, the amount of people keep growing. So even at this point where we're just about to hit 1 million, like, the income isn't that, you know, I thought it'll be crazy, but it's not. I suppose the Mars is really draining us. I wonder how much would it be without it. You know, if you take it out of the equation and out of the expenditure, how much would it be? I kind of have redesigned this area, not a whole pile, but just because we needed more buildings, as I was doing it off the screen. So that there was more buildings basically being fit in that little area that we just saw. And there you go, right? So we just need a bit more houses, but before we do so, let's get more biome hunters. So that's yet another building. And I think I'm just adding as many as I can because we have the material, we have the people. So might as well. It's just because I think fully expanded it only produces like 28, so that's not that a lot. I kind of wish I could produce a massive surplus of things. But that doesn't seem... Like, Anno 1800 seems to be much more forgiving than this game. But again, that could be just because of the balanced mod. Not sure. I also don't think we will be able to upgrade all of the research. It just seems like I don't know if it's doable, because we'll need so much things on the moon or on the Mars for it. So, and I can't seem to find... I don't know if it's even possible to have all the modules on the orbital station, you know, at 100% of its capabilities. Maybe it is, maybe some other time, but I don't think I can stomach you know, fiddling with that, because the amount of times I had to switch things over. That's why you really don't see me go in there too often, because yeah, it's one of those things. But anyway, lo and behold, we have reached over 1 million people. So we are nearing the very end of this episode. And yeah, that's level 100, 10 million, 100,000. The money has gone down again because I've upgraded too many synthetics, but that's okay, it'll go up. You'll see it, I don't want to say you'll see it crazy in the next one, but yeah, it'll definitely be much more than what you're seeing right now. At this point, I don't think I will do more. 44,000 employees, we will never use this many, so there's no need to have them, apart from obviously they look well, so I may have, you know, 1 or 2 over there, just like even this island. I think it looks quite well with that building alone. But yeah, so there you go. I leave you to it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode and listening to me yap away. But I really enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. As always, take care of yourselves and stay hooked.